Welcome to Post-it Notes Podcast. Demi Pietchell of the Starfire Codes is with me. So get yourself comfortable and let's dive in to learn more about this magical creature. All right, here we go. Ready?
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Question number 1. Where in the world are you?
I'm in Florida. I'm back in Florida now. I was in Europe for a bit. I was in Switzerland until the beginning of last year, and I came back. I grew up in Florida, so this is home. So I'm back home now.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, samesies. How did you come to Substack? And when was that?
It was, I want to say July of 2021. And I had a lot of problems with censorship, with deplatforming, things like that. Not quite yet. It wasn't until I was posting my Substack articles onto Twitter that I got deplatformed. So that happened. I was talking about Dr. Andreas Nowak, and he had been reporting on graphene in the lollipops, if we're going to use the words we're used to here. So he was talking about that, and he was supposedly unalived after that.
Mhm.
So I was putting up the transcript of what he had said during his presentation. And that was in my Substack, and I was just sort of live tweeting what I had written in my Substack. And I had a massive spike in traffic, and then I got deplatformed
From
immediately from Twitter.
From Twitter, gotcha.
So I wasn't reinstated to Twitter until after it was bought by Elon Musk. And that was, I want to say, January of this past year.
Yeah, like 2 years later, nearly.
Yeah. So it really made my traffic take a hit because, I had about 90,000 followers on my Twitter.
Wow.
So, and I couldn't access it. And there's no way to rebuild that so fast. There's no way to do it. So
90,000.
yeah, and it's still there, but I have no reach now, so I just don't use it.
Crazy. Gotcha. Yeah, well, Substack is a welcome home for you.
Yes, absolutely. And it's been so great, and the community's so wonderful.
It's crazy. I had no
It's like
idea.
night and day. It's like night and day. It really is.
Yeah, there's a quality to it. Now, do you think that is because the nature of people on that platform are writers, and so that brings with it a degree of thoughtfulness? Like what do you attribute that to?
It is, and also, avid readers. It's
Right.
not just writers. So it's people who want to have that kind of in-depth sort of a dialogue, but it's also people who are um more thoughtful about the ways that they interact, and more concerned with being able to say whatever it is that they want to say. We've been censored everywhere, and we have, I think as a group, some sort of PTSD even, based on that, where we automatically, if there's even like a system bug or a problem, we automatically think we're being censored and have a
Right.
reaction to that. I've seen that, across the board on all of the platforms. So, to understand that, and to really feel like, we've tested the waters, and we feel okay here. You know what I mean? Like, that's huge,
Yeah.
after having been through this for so long.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Even me talking right now, I'm still censoring my words. I'm self-censoring my words so that you don't get, tripped up on any keywording on any algorithms, because I don't know, exactly where you're going to be posting this. So, I don't know which ones are going to trip something up, and it's a big deal, so we're
Yeah.
even using code words for regular words that we would use. That's crazy.
It is. It is the most surreal thing that we've experienced, to find ourselves inside a sci-fi movie all of a sudden. And what I find so odd is being in the world with so many people that have no idea and understanding what we've experienced and withstood. It's that we're these you know, silent warriors to many people, you know, not in our communities, of course, but and that gap just gets wider. It's just you can't possibly explain it to someone who didn't live through it or isn't living through it the same way.
Right.
But it's what's connected us, you know, and I'm grateful for that because,
Absolutely. Yeah.
right?
And they wonder, when they talk to us, they wonder, okay, what's the big deal? Why do you need to talk about that? Well,
Yeah,
it's because you don't understand what we're actually talking about. And that's because we haven't had a voice to tell you.
yeah,
So if you even knew that, if you even knew half of what we were trying to tell you, you would have made different choices. And that's a shame too. On top of that, it's, this was
yeah,
for their benefit and they don't even understand why.
yeah, yeah. And we've had to absorb all of that and still get up every day and choose to, you know, be kind and offer joy and laugh. And it's quite amazing. It's quite
And
amazing.
that's eventually what my focus shifted to. Sure, I'll still write, the more educational articles about the things that I'm thinking about, the deep dives that I'm going into, but so much of my content has shifted to keeping things more upbeat, to supplying people with ideas so that they don't get blackpilled, so that
Yeah,
they can keep their morale up in the face of all of this. And like even the recent edition of the meme drops was for
yeah,
that, so that people are laughing and we have an outlet, so
yeah,
that was important to me. That's something that's been important to me across the board, on all of my platforms, but I sort of consolidated it here, and then I'll just post that, you know, everywhere else, and people can go to it and see, what I have up, for the day, and laugh and share,
yes,
and do what they do. um but yeah, the daily reading comes out, and that's 365 days a year, and we pull songs for that. We have shufflemancy as a part of that, so we pull songs for that, and I think we're about a year ahead in the energies, so those songs are pulled a year in advance. That's how long those readings cook in that energy.
so
So
wow.
yeah, and just putting all the bits and pieces of it together and setting the intention that all of that will go together into one cohesive message for anyone that needs to hear it at that time, and then it ends up resonating, and I'm still surprised by it every time that I'm
Yeah.
able to do that, and people are telling me, wow, that was spot on. And I like, I'm like, this is what I think it says, this is my interpretation of all of this. And everyone will come back to me and say, yes, I'm going through something that's similar to that, that's tangential to that, whatever interpretation of that energy they have. And it's a two-way street there. They have to bring their intuition to it to pull out of it what they need, because it is a collective reading. It's not a personal reading. I offer personal readings, but this is different. This is, just a daily reading every day for all of the people who subscribe, and they're able to bring themselves to it, pull out what they need from it, and make decisions based on what their psyche brings up according to that information, when and the way it's received.
Yeah. Yes, it's a very interesting mirror. Yeah.
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 It's beautiful. Yes,
Thank
and I
you.
love the meme drops, just to go back to that. I mean, it really is medicine that you
Yeah.
can feel is tuning your frequency. And, you know, and it's a frequency game. And, you know, when you're aware of that, we can actively be, again, nourishing those frequencies. There's just no better course of action right now in my mind than doing that. So
And doing that for each other too,
yeah, yeah,
so if you know that you're somebody who maintains a pretty high frequency anyway, despite all of the things going on, like I do, like you do, it's something where you can hold space for other people who are dropping their frequencies, and they can't, they have trouble really sustaining that. It's more challenging for them. So
yeah,
adding that into the mix, and being cognizant of that, and understanding that most of what they're getting from all of these different channels is like this barrage of fear porn, really, and doom
yeah.
scrolling. And I loved how Fisto put that recently, calling it hope scrolling on
Yes,
Substack. That was brilliant, I thought. So
brilliant.
yeah, it's hope scrolling, and
It
that's
is.
what
It's
we're doing
another
instead.
inversion. Sorry to cut you
Hmm.
off.
No,
Because so
that's
many things are inverted. It's kind of fun to play that game as well, right?
yes,
Invert it so
absolutely.
that it serves us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and we need to keep our morale up and to keep our frequency up, and that's how we draw each other to each other, and that's exactly what happened here. So
absolutely.
we all, magnetize to each other, being on the same frequency, and it's a beautiful thing.
It is the mycelium network.
Rhizomatic.
Rhizomatic. But is there a significance to the name the Starfire Codes? Or where did that come from for you?
Yeah, I had come up with a few different names. I was actually, divinating while deciding, and that was the one that I gravitated to. It has to do with a priestess line, and sort of like the background of where a lot of these different divination practices and things like this come from. One of the first things that I channeled, it's probably the second thing that I was aware that I was channeling, because I think I was channeling well before I ever knew what it was that I was doing. But the second one that I was really aware of was, if we're in a simulation, then biochemistry is the interface.
Mm.
That was one of the messages that came through.
Ooh,
So that
love it.
that ritual has to do with biochemistry within the priestesses, and some sort of longevity ritual that used to happen surrounding that. So that was the name that I chose. But it's also, if you look in the hermit card, the hermit has the lantern that he holds, and inside the lantern is the star. So he's using the star. The star card comes before that to guide the way toward healing and wisdom. And that's what he's using to light the way forward as he figures that out. So that's really where I took it from, was the combination of the star and the hermit.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you.
What is your relationship to writing?
Oh, I've always been a writer. That came earlier than I even know. I learned to read very, very young. I was 1.5 when I was reading. I was always surrounded by books. It's what I wanted to do, and I got into filmmaking also, but it was really, I was gearing toward screenwriting and direction, and then past that point, I ended up doing producing, publicity. I kind of ran the gamut of the different jobs that I took on within that space, but I always came back to writing.
Mm.
So it ended up being a big component of all of the other things I do. And it ended up being that I went into digital marketing and then content creation. So it sort of merged everything that I had studied and everything that I had done into, one massive project that I was kind of pushing forward at that point.
Beautiful. Why was your first piece on Substack your first piece? Now, I guess it's related to your Twitter
Hmm.
experience, but
Yes, yeah. So it was about the lollipops, and and about all of
yes.
the disinformation surrounding that. So that was the first one. The second one that I did was, I want to say, it was about some analysis that I was doing regarding media and the JFK assassination.
Mm, wild.
Yeah, it was a video that I had from a friend of mine who has since passed away. He sent it to me, and I was um showing it in terms of how different people were getting equal camera time back then, even to discuss something that was, conspiracy related, right? It was Jim Garrison who was on, and he's talking about all of this on the news. Like, not really the news. Like he has his own amount of time. He's sitting, like, kind of leaning on a desk. He's talking. They gave him the floor. He was able to say what he needed to say, what he wanted to say. And look at us now. Like, you would be taken right off the air. Jim Garrison couldn't have done that now. So that was the point I was making, and all of that kind of feeds in together. I use my background in media to interpret a lot of this. All of the different aspects of the things that I've studied, I kind of fuse them together into a lens that I use for looking at different things that are happening in the media, different things that are happening societally, or just different things that I want to bring up that I think people should be educated about in order to understand what we're going through right now.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, your writing is, well, I'm not sure I have adjectives to describe it, but
Thank you.
We'll just leave it there. I'm gonna sound like him. It's amazing. I mean, it's just so multidimensional, and it's almost like one wonders how you've lived enough life to be able to put it all together. But maybe you've done it over lifetimes. I don't know. We'll go with that.
I might be drawing from other things. I think, looking back
Yeah.
now that you say that, it feels like every few months I'm living a different life. And
Wow.
I'm doing something different. I'm into something different. I'm exploring something different, and my life doesn't look the same from one
Yeah.
second to the next, kind of thing. And
Right.
it's
You're
always been
reinventing
that way.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always, from even I remember as a kid, from one semester to the next, even as I would go through school, it didn't feel like I had the same life. So I think that I've just carried that with me and just, gone after whatever I was interested in at the time. I don't
Beautiful.
really, I don't hold back from that. I just, whatever is catching my attention, I figure it's for a reason, and I go.
Yeah. You hear the call and you answer.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay, this is a good one. Tell me about your creative process. And, we are celebrating your 8,000 subscriber mark as of, I guess, yesterday.
Thank you.
And congratulations, it's incredible.
Thanks.
And you are saying that consistency has been key for
Yeah.
you. And, consistency is a swear word for me. It's been a weakness of mine to keep, because it's always been like, well, I don't feel like doing it. So, and I am a fire sign. I don't know if that's the only reason, but I have a very hard time sticking to appointments and schedules. So, how do you continually stay motivated and consistent with your output?
I work around that. I'm the same way. I decide, how I'm going to approach my content schedule, and when I feel like doing it, I do a lot of it. So that's how I work it, and I have, like I said, so much lead time, between gathering the songs and putting everything together, that I'm able to kind of, take a step back from that and just, decide, okay, I'm going to write, however many readings in a day. But I'm putting together all of the bits and pieces of that, month by month. I'm doing them, in a batch, basically.
Okay.
And then I'm writing ahead, and I'm scheduling them out ahead, and I write things so far in advance that a lot of the time, like by the time I'm looking at it again, and also because I'm kind of trancing out as I'm writing the content for it, because I have to go there and I'm reading it for the first time by the time it comes out. So I'm like, okay, what was going on here, and what pulls this together, and I'll put on a different hat to read it in that mode. But as I'm writing it, no, and then I won't remember, and then I'll come back to it, and oh, here's what was said. So there's a disconnect between, me when I'm channeling, and me when I'm, just reading it as a person too.
Wild.
So that part is interesting, but the whole thing, the cohesion that holds that together is the intention setting.
Right.
So as I'm doing each part of it, I'm setting the intention that anyone who needs to see this at any given time is going to have um some form of resonance with it, to where they will get the message that they need to get at that time. So you can even go back to, there are dates on the readings, but only so that I can keep track of that I did one each day. It has nothing to do with it. If you even search through my archive for a song, if you search through my archive for a certain day, or whatever that may have been important to you that you want to look back on, it's going to resonate with you reading it now, even if it resonates with the date that you're reading it for, or the song that you're pulling up. And we did an experiment with that recently. Chris Cook had put up a post about Sting's "If I Ever Lose My Faith."
Yeah.
Okay. And as Christopher was doing that, I was going back through my readings, finding, because I remembered that song had come up about 4 or 5 times. So I pulled all of those readings, and sure enough, they all sort of interrelated with each other and with
Wow.
what he was saying, which was
Wow.
crazy. And we're watching all of this unfold, and restacking from the readings. I set all of them to free, so that everyone could look at it that was, interested in seeing what the hell we were doing at that point. because we didn't even know what we were doing. Like, okay, I'm just gonna go find these readings and see, what's what. And sure enough, they resonated.
Wow.
So it happens, over time you can go back and find old ones by the song even.
Wild.
Or another way there are so many different ways that you can utilize this, but let's say the new moon in Capricorn to the full moon in Capricorn is a range of time astrologically. So you find a reading that was on the new moon of Capricorn and you remember what you were doing at that point, and you can find the full moon in Capricorn and watch the trajectory of that. So if you take those two readings, you can see where you came from and where you went, what you were focused
Wow.
on and what you manifested.
Okay, so back to your stack. What I also love about your routine and your scheduling is that you're also very supportive of everybody else on there. Now, were you always doing your what I've been reading? Like that's such a beautiful, consistent way to be community oriented.
I did the what I'm watching first. I started doing that to just have a place to keep all of the videos that I was watching. Then I realized that I was doing the same thing with watching, or with reading rather, different posts on Substack. So it's like, oh, I'll make another one of these, and maybe people, just like they were using the videos, to find other content, they can use, my list to find other content. So I did it that way. And yeah, it's been great, not only because, in a selfish way I get to read all this great stuff, but also I get to connect everybody and they can find each other and start developing relationships with each other when they may not have known that each other's content existed, or that there's overlap, that they have like a chance to collaborate with each other, or even just meet each other for the first time and start recommending each other, which I highly recommend recommending people.
Yeah, and there's no
Use
limit
the
to that.
recommendations.
No
And
limit to that,
use
right?
it,
Yeah.
because that's how, when people know they love your stuff, they want to know what you're also consuming, and they'll go to your page and be able to look through that and see what's there. And utilizing that, I've heard so many stories from different people who have done really well with it, that was what they did. That was the primary tool within Substack that they were using, that was able to have an impact on their numbers.
Wow.
Hmm.
Great. That's a great tidbit. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that and consistency. Like I said, I drop something every single day, no matter what.
Yeah.
um Being consistent helps. People know to expect my reading every day. There will be something extra. Usually I will usually have two things drop in a day. Some days there's only one, but I will always have one thing, and that is the reading 100% of the time. But some days I'll do a meme drop, some days I'll drop an article, sometimes it's what I'm watching, sometimes it's what I'm reading. I try to put a second piece of content out per day,
Okay.
and that's what I do. So whether somebody's more interested in the videos, or more interested in the reading list, they're more interested in the meme drops, my articles, whatever that is, they can kind of pick and choose what they're interacting with. But the readings are daily.
Yeah. Beautiful. And we're grateful for it.
Thank you.
I'm sure I'm not alone when I say we're grateful for it.
I'm so happy when I hear that, because it confirms for me that I'm taking the messages and I'm reporting them accurately. When I learned remote viewing, okay, which is very similar to channeling, it's you're dipping into like the same sort of collective unconscious space to do what I do in that. When you get cocky about it, you can't do it because you're in your I space and not in your we space. You can't access the collective when you're acting cocky. So if you feel cocky about your accuracy will plummet. That's a
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So I don't even, it's not me. It's not coming in from me. I happen to be curating it, putting it together. Like, yeah, if somebody says something to me about it, I'll say thank you. But really, I'm thanking them for the confirmation that I got out of the way of the message and put it forward in the way that it was supposed to be put forward. That's
Yeah.
my confirmation that I'm doing my job accurately.
Yeah.
So that's how I take that.
How much does having an audience and being a witness to what other people are doing affect your work. Now, I suppose that wouldn't really be applying to the collective readings, but more so maybe
Mm.
your articles, or maybe it doesn't affect you at all. Like, do you consider your readership when you're making your next Substack?
I I know that they're following because they like my take on things. So I try to keep it there. I try to keep as authentic to that as possible, so that when I'm putting things out, it is coming from, these are the different things that I'm interested in. These are, the different data points that I'm bringing this, pulled from my background and pulled from my insight, and all of the different aspects of the things that I've studied and done over the course of my life. And this is my lens for looking at this thing. And that's what I'm putting forward. So really the branding is according to me and what I'm interested in. So I don't really do it that way. I figure if someone is in resonance with me, they're going to get a lot out of it. I don't expect people to always stay. I there it's great that some do, and that's wonderful, and I love that some people are loyal to my content. But it might be that they find, a different reader that takes them through a different aspect of their life that they need at that point, that they follow somebody else for a bit. Maybe they come back to my stuff in a little bit. Like, it's all intuition. It's all based on that, and based on what you need to be taking in within the moment. And you'll know that, and your higher self knows that, and I know what I need to be putting forward, and I just trust it.
Yeah.
So that's what I do with it.
Yeah. Makes sense. What have you learned about yourself from having your Substack?
Oh gosh. One of the big things was something that you mentioned earlier, working around when I feel like doing something and when I don't, right? When I feel like doing something else is what I should say.
Yeah.
So, because I feel like doing things constantly and I'm always into something, but it's, where is my mind at that point, right? Am I in the mode where I'm going to be writing readings? Am I in the mode where I want to be writing an article? I do my best technical writing in the morning. I do my best creative writing in the evening.
Hmm.
Most people are like this. Most people first thing in the morning can do better left brain stuff. And then over time, and as you become more sleep deprived, even that part falls off and you only have your right brain left. And
Yeah.
that's it. So anything that's more stream of consciousness, I am so much better with it late at night. And anything where I have to be, more regimented with it, like my articles, things like that, where I'm like actually, trying to put things forward in a way that I'm explaining things and it's cohesive and people, understand it in that way. I'm not bringing my intuition to it so much as, I'm trying to structure it in a way that I'm conveying the ideas properly, that I have to do first thing in the morning.
Yeah. Great. It's good to figure that shit out about yourself, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So
Yeah.
even like when I was screenwriting, I would always do screenwriting at night. So I would slip
Right.
in and out of like the different dialogues of the different characters and be able to like get into that creative space. I
Yeah.
can't do that first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
My brain is mathing at that point. Like, no, it's not. Like, I have to run out of math first.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes a lot of sense.
I'm glad, because sometimes my sentences don't.
What is your favorite book or author?
Tom Robbins,
Uh-huh.
Fierce Invalids Home from Hot Climates.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my favorite by him. I love all of his. I love everything I've ever read by Haruki Murakami too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, Kurt Vonnegut,
Yeah.
Ray Bradbury.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was always big into fantasy, sci-fi, wordplay, anything involving that kind of stuff, and especially, children's books even involving that. If it had that aspect to it, I would be interested in it. I'd get a kick out of it, and I wouldn't even care that it's written for a kid.
Yeah. I discovered Tom Robbins when I was still in high school, and
Awesome.
yeah, and I do remember, I think it was Skinny Legs and All, I think was my first
Oh.
first one. But it was one of those, you're I think this is what you mean too. He's one of those authors that kind of breaks you out of a little bit of your matrix, because up until then you're reading pretty, sensible books, and then you read his stuff and you're like, wow, I can think like this. Like someone can talk like
Yes.
this. Like it just opened up my world for understanding that something different was possible.
Mhm.
And it was, yeah, it amused you from the insides out. So yeah, I totally get that.
And his
Uh,
different books, for that same reason, like Jitterbug Perfume, like it's this
mm,
epic historical tale that has all of this, metaphysical interweaving to it as well. So it's got both,
right.
and you're kind of like flowing in and out of that space. And that's what I like about his books too. There's so much that's going on that is mysterious and metaphysical, but it's also, grounded into the reality of the places and the people surrounding it, and there's still something you can grasp onto. It's not, so far gone that you're that you feel untethered. you
Yeah.
feel you feel like the characters are tethered to our reality and also experiencing theirs, and there's that disconnect there that makes them interested in what's going on, and then we're following them through what they're doing and how they're interacting with that. I love that, and I love the way that he words things in that way too. And it's like very southern prose too.
Mm. Where's he from?
I think the South originally, and
Okay.
then moved to, I want to say Seattle. I want to
Okay.
say Washington.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man, it's been a while. Like I don't think I've read one of his things since I was in my teens. It would be worth revisiting, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting to see it through my
Especially,
adult lens.
yeah.
Yeah.
I have a book that I marked up that I've been meaning to do that with. I marked it up when I was 15 years old, and I've been meaning to go back through and read it and see where I marked things up, but also, what am I drawn to now
Yeah.
about it? And it was Kerouac's The Town and the City.
Okay. I haven't
So
read that one. Yeah.
it spans time too, and the disillusion of the traditional family into city life, and all of that. So it'll be interesting to see what I made of that at 15 versus what I make of that now. I
Yes.
think that would be really interesting.
Very cool. You'll have to do that on one of the days you take off and go for a walk at the beach. Okay, this next question, Demi, is from
Yeah.
Christopher Cook. He made this
Okay.
suggestion. What matters most to you?
What matters most to me, in terms of what I'm putting out into the world, I
Think
want
anything, yeah.
to I want people to understand that what I do, they can do too. I want people to understand that that's their human birthright, is to do what I do. It's not that I have some crazy ability. I have a human ability that I'm tapped into, and everyone else can do it too. That's really the message behind what I'm doing, is that if we were to tap back into that, we would already be so connected, we wouldn't feel disconnected ever.
Yeah,
We wouldn't need anything else.
that's beautiful.
Thank you. Oh,
Made my eyes leak. My eyes are leaking.
oh, she's leaking.
Oh, I'm leaking again.
She's leaking.
That's a tribute to Amy. Oh, it's beautiful. And what a great purpose. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
It's the Starfire leading the way here.
Aw.
Um, all right, last question,
Okay.
Demi. What does this next year hold for you?
Oh, well, I am going to be, keeping up with the same as I've been doing. I'm also going to be doing more readings. So I'll be recording those on video. I'll also be doing more personal readings. So there's a link to find that on, if you go to starfirecodes.com, it'll say book a reading in the navigation bar. So you'll be able to find it there. So I'll be doing that, and building out from there different things that I want to do on more of the metaphysical side, and more morale building kinds of things, and more things that are geared toward growth,
Awesome.
because I think that's more of the direction that I'm going. It's not so much rabbit holes and things like that. It's more, how do we look at this information? It's sort of a meta thing that's here. How do we look at this information and stay afloat?
Yeah.
even though what we're taking in is really heavy.
Sister, I so resonate with that message. You know, I've spent my time in under down there in those holes, and I feel like I've plateaued at a point where there's almost nothing left for me to know. It's just now, yeah, how to be in
Putting
the
it all
world.
together and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and having a framework for that that doesn't impede your growth and your forward momentum and your even your hope for the future, because a
Yes.
lot of people end up, stuck there. They get stuck in the doom scrolling and stuck in, in that sort of dopamine feedback loop that happens surrounding that as well.
Yes, well, I mean,
So,
everyone is looking for some sense of safety, you know? And I
yes.
think when you get to the place that it it sounds so cheesy, but it really does come from inside of you. It's
Mhm.
like these last vestiges of us looking for it out there, you
Yeah.
know? And I think more and more people are starting to realize like the world, crazy world's gonna crazy. It
Yes.
and so how, like you say, how do we surf it with the best vantage point and the most, you know, a consistent sense of well-being within it, while we're also creating what we actually want it to be and not getting stuck in that reactive thing and response to it. And you know, that's going to look different for everyone,
Yeah.
but you know, I like being a part of the conversation that's offering options for what that could look like.
Yes, absolutely. And even taking into account that it has always been that way, we're just figuring it out now.
Yeah.
And some of us at different rates and levels, some have known longer than others and had to deal with that for longer than other people did.
Yeah.
But it's also navigating that, how do I sit within myself knowing this, and how do I still have a conversation with somebody who doesn't?
Yes.
How do I connect with somebody who doesn't understand?
Yes.
And how do I navigate life through that? But also, how do I not bring that energy to everything that I'm doing when I know this now, and where do I put it? And how do I make use of it? How do I transmute it? How do I make it into something better? Where do I go from here? So that's the kind of thing I want to focus on. And that's really what I've been writing about more so than not, the dismantling of the matrix, which, a bunch of us had written about at the same time. So Laura wrote about it. Um, Carrie wrote about it, Carrie Bancroft. We didn't correspond on it. We realized that all three of us had written about it. We all took down our paywalls and just put the pieces out there. So that was something that was interesting, but also, rhizomatic consciousness, rhizomatic learning, how you take your frequency and what you know, and just by existing and being and interacting with others, it spreads out from you, it ripples out, it touches others, and the people who are nodes within that rhizome are affecting the rest of it in super impactful ways. And just to know, even if you don't think that you're having that kind of an impact, you absolutely are. And it's about maintaining that within yourself and being a node of that so that you transmit.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you for all that you do and your generosity of your consistency.
Thank you
Because
so
I mean,
much.
I know I'm not alone in that. You're a gift. You're a gift for us. And oh God, I don't want to leak all over that. But
Thank
you,
you, I'm
thank you.
honored. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Yeah. Thank you. It's such a pleasure to know you. And I continue to look forward to your work
You
that
as well.
comes
Thank you
out.
so much.
Yeah.
And thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure. It's
Thank you.
wonderful.
Thank
I'm
you for
so
being
glad
my
you're doing
first
this.
guest.
Oh, thank you.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'm so excited. Okay, well we'll be in touch soon.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Thanks.
wonderful. Bye.
Bye.
Like Jekyll hit his high